I see many SaaS founders and early stage SaaS brands approach the content marketing the wrong way. They know that content marketing is important and that it's actually essential if they want to play the long-term game, but they just don't play it right from the very beginning. And oftentimes I get asked, hey Yugi, what kind of content should I create? So right now, what I'm going to show you is what type of content should you create based on your stage, on the stage of your SaaS company right now. So if you are an early stage SaaS company, let's say that does between 10 or that does less than 500K in annual recurring revenue, then you should be really focusing first of all on the ROI-led content marketing and the content overall. And when I say ROI-led, I mean the content that targets really high intent people who are almost immediately ready to buy a solution like yours because they're problem aware and they're already looking out for tools like yours. And why is this such a great strategy is first of all because it brings you the customers quickly. Second of all, here you will usually be targeting keywords with less search volume, and those keywords naturally are not interesting to the other big brands in your space and the category leaders, so you will be able to rank first on Google pretty much quickly without a lot of backlink building efforts. And the traffic will start filling in since you have such an amazing content that solves their problems. They will probably end up converting. And when I say ROI-led content, what exactly do I mean by that? So there are a couple of different content types inside the ROI-led content. First of all, you should create product review or comparison and alternative articles. My team and I wrote 300 plus of those articles for 20 different SaaS companies, and they convert averagely between 5 to 20% of the total readers. And we even had cases where, for example, for User Pilot, one user onboarding tool, one comparison article that we did, if you Google down Walk Me Alternatives, you will find User Pilot right now first or the second. And that one particular article brought them over $500,000 in annual recurring revenue from just one article. And the other, for example, examples of this content might be 5 best Mailchimp alternatives, 5 best Mailchimp alternatives, 5 best Basecamp alternatives. So whatever competitors you have in your space, go out and write one in-depth comparison of a couple of different tools in your space. And of course, don't be overly promotional here because that will just leave a bad impression of you and you won't get any conversions. And rather be very objective and very realistic and say the things they are. Right? And the readers will appreciate that, and the readers will at the end of the day end up converting for your product. I will talk more about how to write those types of articles in some of the future episodes. Anyway, other form of ROI-led content that's really great for the early stage SaaS companies are, I like to call them product-led articles. And those articles are aimed at solving one really specific problem that your ideal customer persona might have, right? Really one specific problem. And the way it solves that problem is, of course, through using your tool. And at the end of the article, the readers will naturally go further and convert. For example, an example of this article might be how to build custom design email newsletter without knowing HTML. So naturally here you will target some really long-term keywords with 10, 20, 30 search volume of non-existing at all, but don't worry about it because SEO tools never show you the real search volume for keywords. If for example, Ahrefs shows me that certain keyword has a search volume of 10, in reality that's 60, 70, or 80. And since, as I said at the beginning, the search volume is so low, big players in your space won't find those keywords interesting, and you will rank there pretty much instantly and start getting high quality leads on your site. And the last type of the ROI-led content that early stage SaaS companies should create are the success stories and the case studies or the customer stories. So you really want to show people the value that your customers are getting with your tool. And why does this matter? Because this builds trust with your potential customers, right? For example, if you go out to contenthorse.com and I tell you that we grow your company, we help you generate 150 plus high quality leads through ROI-led content each month, would you believe me that we brought over 20 million in annual recurring revenue for our clients if I have no success stories there? Of course not. But if I have 5, 10, 15 success stories to show you, then you will naturally have more trust in me and you will trust me more that you're leaving your content marketing to me and that you're leaving it in a very, very good hands, right? So that's why success stories and case studies matter from the very, very beginning. Then, if you're a mid-stage SaaS company that does, let's say, between $500K to $5 million in annual recurring revenue, here is on what content you should focus. So first of all, again, we have those types of ROI-led articles as we had at the beginning. You'll probably have plethora of topics to write about there, and make sure to stop working on them only when you really squeeze out every inspiration that you have. But essentially, besides those ROI-led articles, we also have a sales enablement content, especially if you are depending a lot on the outbound sales. So make sure to prepare content such as researches, white papers, benchmarks, processes, whatever that will help your sales team close more deals, right? And besides the sales enablement content, we also have, for example, mid of the funnel content. So the mid of the funnel content targets people who are aware of the problem, but they're still quite not looking for a solution. And these articles may be best templates for X, how to do Y, etc., etc. And also, what's important here is to experiment with the different types of the content. So not just blog posts, but also the podcast, the videos, social media content, because in the long term, you want to become a media brand, you want to become a publisher, and you want to have an omni-channel presence on many channels, not just your blog, but you also want to have people in your newsletter. You want to have your own tribe on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, etc., etc. So experiment in this stage as much as you can. And the last thing about the mid-stage companies is do not forget about content distribution, because content is a long-term game, but in reality it doesn't need to be. So we don't need to wait for 5, 6, 7 months for the content to rank on Google. When in reality we can start distributing it towards our ideal customer persona pretty much immediately after publishing the article. So find out the places on the web where your ICPs are congregating, like the communities, social networks, influencers, and start distributing your content there. And then if you're, for example, a scale-up SaaS company that does between $5 to $20 million in annual recurring revenue, then at this stage you should try to create as much content as possible for different channels and for different stages of your funnel. So this is the moment where content velocity matters. But don't do content velocity and don't focus on publishing if you can't maintain the really high quality of your content. And right now, in this stage, you want to start laying down foundations on really super competitive keywords in your industry. So top of the funnel keywords such as, for example, keyword research, SEO, content marketing, etc., etc. So those are the keywords where your category leaders are dominating, and these are the keywords that will bring you the most awareness in the years to come. So you want to start focusing on those articles right now. It doesn't make sense to focus on these super competitive articles at the beginning, because they will need a year or more to rank and start bringing you results. At the beginning, while you were early stage or a mid stage company, you needed something that will start delivering you results quickly, such as, for example, the ROI-led content. And Of course, here double down on distribution, start investing significantly more resources in it, run paid ads to distribute articles, do whatever you can to may have more people hear about you and consume your content, because at the end of the day, even if I consume a certain type of the content from you right now, and whether that's just some kind of a video, I will keep your brand name somewhere in the small brain, and months after I will end up converting. And if you're, let's say, an enterprise SaaS company that does over $20 million in recurring revenue, then you should focus before all on thought leadership pieces that position your company as a really, really big leaders in the market. You should start speaking on podcasts. You should start promoting yourself on conferences. You should launch your podcast. I mean, you can do all of these things also if you're a scale-up SaaS as well. And if you're a category, then here you should focus on building your own category, right? So if you're an enterprise, here you should focus on building your own category and becoming a category leader, especially if you have like if you have a couple of really big players in your space, such as, for example, Mailchimp, etc., then it's impossible to beat Mailchimp these days, right? But you can create your own category, the same as Drift did. They had Intercom as the biggest competitor that were dominating the live chat market, but what Drift did, like, they had the similar product as Intercom, but they created a new category. They created conversational marketing, right? So this is really something that you should be focusing on in the when you're enterprise. So really, really quick recap. If you're early stage, focus on the ROI-led content, on content that will start bringing you more customers as soon as possible. If you're mid-stage, start playing a little bit more with content distribution and the middle of the funnel content, while also still focusing on the ROI-led content part. When you're a scale-up, start laying down foundations and trying to fight for all of these super big keywords in your industry, top of the funnel terms, popular top of the funnel terms, etc., etc. Also start the omni-channel presence by focusing on the other markets and building your own founder brand. And if you're enterprise, then really go hardcore on distribution, on appearing publicly as much as possible, your own podcast, thought leadership pieces, and building a category. Hope you like this episode. Let me know your favorite content types inside the comments, and let me know what works for you. Happy to help. If you have any questions, just shoot me up on Twitter, LinkedIn, email, whenever you want. Happy to help.